listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk.
Number 331.
Hello and welcome back to another podcast here on the Outdoors Station, and one I'm recording in October, just as we go into October 2011, and I hope the summer's been a good one for everybody all around the world, and you've been enjoying the time getting out and enjoying the outdoors life as we all would like to. And certainly the weather in the UK has been particularly strange this last week, in fact. And I think everybody who'd stashed away their summer walking gear and was starting to look at their autumn and winter gear, I've suddenly realised that perhaps summer hasn't been over, and we've had some fantastic temperatures up to 30 degrees or thereabouts, which has been pretty enjoyable. Well, what are we looking at in this podcast? Well, we thought we'd touch on a few things really just to get people up to speed about part of the reasons we've not been as prolific as we would like to have been with the podcasts, and also touch on some sort of news and gossip that's going around about the blogging world and also about the outdoors industry. But first, let's start about ourselves, where we are. Obviously, apologising as always about the irregularity of these things. We do try and do them if we can. However, we, like everybody else at the moment in the outdoors industry, or even any industry, are obviously working hard at keeping everything going along smoothly in the business. And on top of that, I've also been working on editing up all the TGO challenge videos, which we produced from the TGO, obviously, in May 2011, which you can now find on YouTube. And if you go onto YouTube and just search The Outdoors Station or TGO Challenge, you'll see a series of 5 videos there that we've put together. Just to give you a bit of an idea about those, the contents for the actual walking was shot on a new Panasonic Lumix, I think it's the FT3, the sort of waterproof, drop-proof camera, which is available, compact camera, which I purchased literally just before we went. I was looking at doing it with various video cameras, and I've got various professional video cameras, but they were just too big and too cumbersome and too expensive, to be honest, to take with me on such a trip, as well as also the battery power. So I thought I'd give these compacts a bit of a go, and I have to say I was incredibly surprised at the quality and the output, which can be seen in high definition on YouTube from this camera. And the reason I chose this one in particular wasn't so much because of the waterproof or the durability of it, because it was the only one that I could find that would actually record video in PAL, which is, for people who know, 25 or 50 frames a second, as opposed to NTSC, which is 30 or 60. The reason that makes a difference, it doesn't when you watch it and play it back on the computer and edit it. But if you put it into DVD format, shall we say, for playing on a UK TV system, it has to convert the 30/60 frames to 25/50, and that creates all sorts of frame judder and lip sync problems and so on, which is something that all these manufacturers don't tell you. Because my background is, as many people will know, is in media production, it's something I tend to pay a bit of attention to. So I was very, very impressed with the camera. Sadly, the actual trip, as everybody will know, really was a bit of a wet one, which is disappointing. What we had hoped to do was record pieces about the gear that we were using and the way we approached the walk each evening when we were camping. However, the weather was so miserable and wet, pretty well continually, that didn't happen. So what we've done is we just sort of created 5-10 minute sequences we've dropped into the middle of each one, which explain the gear we took and explanations as to why we took it. So people might find that of interest if you're considering doing the TGO, or just as a different way of spending, I think it's well over an hour. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, all 5 videos put together. Take from it what you will. The other video that I've done was the series of video clips from the Channel Island Way walk. Again, if you've listened to the audio, you'll know that was sponsored by the Guernsey Tourist Board. They paid for us to go over and stay in various places, but obviously we chose to do the walk and be as honest as we could about all the various places we stayed and the people we spoke to, and treat it like a normal travel program that we would do. And that video is also on YouTube, showing you the podcast numbers to look up on the outdoor station if you want the audio content to go with it. So it's sort of a 5-minute piece, really, giving you an idea of what the terrain's like and what it's like to actually to walk in that area, which was lovely, I have to say. To do the coastal walk, and the Channel Island Way is a link up of all the coastal walks around Jersey, Guernsey, Sark, Herm and Alderney to create one route. The only island that we didn't do was Jersey, and I noticed that the well-known blogger Alan Sloman was invited over to do Jersey, and so consequently between all the PR that they've been doing, they have managed to hit the target. But we'll come on to bloggers and PR shortly.
With over 1 million listeners worldwide, The Outdoors Station is the leading online audio resource for those into the great outdoors.
So what else have we been doing? Well, we've been to the OTS, the Outdoors Trade Show in Stoneleigh, which again I'll come on to shortly, and looked at some of the new products there and new things that were coming through. We've also managed to get a few walks in, but not as long-term as we would like to. And somehow we seem to have gone through summer. I don't know what's happened really the last few weeks. It all seems to be fairly full on and fairly busy one way or the other. But Rose has done another triathlon. I've been doing some more exercise and trying to keep the weight down like most people. And really just trying to take time to enjoy the outdoors. What I'm certainly finding and talking to a lot of people is that the new media, the technology, as great as it is as a tool and a way of keeping and communicating with friends from obviously around the world, it does tend to occupy a lot of time, and that time is time that I used to spend doing a lot more things outdoors. So it's a bit of a fine balance, really. This juggling new technology and well, pastimes, simple pastimes, really. However, I guess you're probably listening to this at work or at home or commuting perhaps, or even out hiking, and I know a lot of people listen to it in a tent. So let's move on to something that's been on the blogging scene for a few weeks, and run that past you and see what you think and what your thoughts might be on blogging and the commercialisation of blogging. So let's just have a look at blogging for a minute. Now, most people when they start a blog usually want to share their passion about their pastime, be it photography or music or in this case, outdoors world. And we've all picked up hints and tips over a period of time about the way we do things which work for us, and obviously some of those ideas are quite good and worth sharing, and a lot of people pick up a lot from that. And other times people dismiss the content as being, not for them, which is fair enough. But most people, when they read an honest blog like that, will assume that the writer is writing from personal experience and from passion. So that's one thing. Now, the blogging, I suppose, taken off over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. And initially, the online community, the online outdoor community, were frustrated, I suppose, that the outdoors industry weren't really giving them much credence, and they weren't paying much attention to them, although we all knew, everybody in new media knew that obviously that was the way things were going to go. And also, if you wanted to share your particular information about any particular product or service or whatever, it's quite a good way of doing it in a fairly cheap way. Over the last 2-3 years, I've certainly noticed that we now have some of the better PR companies have realised that there is an audience out there, and they've realised that people are doing blogging and can assist in their business of spreading their particular message. But this all came to a head really in many respects following a conversation I had with, or during a conversation I had with Andy Howell. Now, Andy, as everybody knows, is a mate of mine, and you can find him over on andyhowell.info. And he was telling me that he'd just been invited on the Gore-Tex blogging summit over in Germany. I think it was Germany, actually. Germany. Anyway, and this is where they invite a select number of bloggers over to Germany. I suppose very similar to the Guernsey tourist board thing that we did. And they'll pay for you to come over. They'll put you up in a hotel. They'll probably throw some free kit at you, show you around the factory, drag you up a hill, make you sweaty, make you realise that Gore-Tex is great, and come back down again. So that's the gist of it, and then they expect you to go home and write enthusiastically about how great Gore-Tex is and the various products that you used and so on. Now, that's fair enough. But, you know, you then start crossing the line over, well, are these people that are doing the blogging and writing about it, are they passionate enthusiasts giving their personal opinion on something which they've experienced, which they've paid for themselves out of their hard-earned cash? Or are they writing about a subject matter which they feel obliged to give a positive spin to because that they were put up in a nice hotel and fed and watered by the appropriate company? There's a series of comments, a series of articles, rather, that Andy's written, which are very, very good and well worth reading. I think he's written it from a fairly level-headed point of view, all about the commercialisation of outdoor blogging and integrity and authenticity, which I think is the key thing, really. The PR companies are probably looking around the internet, recognising that certain bloggers are showing that they've got experience in a certain area, and that therefore they have integrity as regards the experiences they've had. So therefore it may be an idea to make association with them. But of course, I suppose if the bloggers aren't really making it clear that the items that they've received were, you know, free of charge and so on, and the why they're writing about it, then does that affect the reader's viewpoint? And of course, with the online media, the reason that the PR companies are contacting as many different bloggers from all sorts of different backgrounds and all sorts of different experiences is because they have realised finally, which is something that the online media knew a long time ago, finally, that if you type in a review, looking for a review of, you know, X Gore-Tex jacket, shall we say, to use as an example, what will come up in the search engines won't necessarily be that X Gore-Tex jacket is now only $9.99 at this particular shop, but will be various articles written by people that mention the jacket, and that is how they slowly build up a matrix, if you like, across the medium, which supports and promotes the message that they are being paid to get across. Now, one of the people that answered fairly early on to Andy's first piece back in the beginning of September was Two Heel Drive, which is Tom Mangan. Sorry, Tom, I haven't quite got your name there. Tom Mangan, over in the States. And he wrote an article about exactly that, the Gore-Tex Blogger Summit, which took place in the US in November 2009. And he just quickly does the sums. You know, they have a certain amount of bloggers, and it costs them this much money, they estimate, to feed, water them, transport them, show them the stuff and whatever else. And the total amount that it came to, the bill that it came to, was considerably less than taking out a full page or a couple of full page adverts in monthly outdoors magazines, which only have a certain lifespan and a certain reach. So you can understand from a commercial point of view that the bloggers are walking a very, very fine line here. You know, you might be passionate about a subject, but somebody offers you something which is really sexy piece of kit, something you perhaps would aspire to but never really afford, or, you know, never really get round to buying, and they offer it to you in return for a write-up. You know, do you feel obliged to give it a better write-up because it is this gift. Whereas the other side of it is the company itself is actually getting a lot more long-term marketing and awareness of that particular product than they could possibly achieve by placing a full-page advert in Trail, TGO, Country Walking, whatever it may be. In the blogging community, various bloggers have been chatting about this, and they seem to be falling into different camps. And Andy himself, I've noticed today, actually, just before recording this, is starting to put, making it clear, what did he say, a policy. He calls it a review policy. In other words, that you make it very, very clear to the reader exactly the story behind how you came to acquire the product. In other words, you bought it yourself, or it was supplied and you were paid X amount, if you like, on a jolly or whatever to review it. But he does make a good point, actually, towards the end of the last piece that he's written about it, towards the end of September here. He said, there's one thing I've discovered this week that might be worth thinking of. I find it personally that the more commercial a blog it becomes, the less interested I am in it. I find myself switching off and reading them less and less. I've discovered I'm not alone in this, so if you're choosing the commercial hybrid route, plan your campaign carefully. And talking of that, somebody that has planned their campaign, I suppose, in some respects, is another mate of Andy's, Phil Turner. And Phil has, whilst presumably working on a full-time job, has also followed his passion for the outdoors, initially from a lightweight perspective. And I now believe he's about to launch a couple of books. And looking at his blog a few minutes ago, I noticed he is now the online editor, or soon to be the online editor, for Outdoor Enthusiasts' website. So congratulations to him on that score. And it just goes to show that if you want to pursue a commercial angle, I suppose, to your blogging activity and look for opportunities like this, they are out there. And Phil has certainly been, fairly active on that front. And from a retailer's point of view, I've received various things from him in the past seeking equipment to review. Has it been clear for people all the way along that his reviews have been from a passionate enthusiast point of view or from a slightly commercial point of view? And, the commercial being to his benefit or to the benefit of the company supplying the product. It's quite a mishmash, and there's obviously a lot of different angles that you can take on this. But I think Andy's point and the conclusion he finally comes to is very true, is that if you're honest with the reader, then the reader knows where they stand and they can cherry pick the information out of it that they seek. If you pick a magazine up, you know that the magazine has been written by people who are being paid to write that. So it's sort of an unwritten rule that you're already aware that there is going to be a commercial bias, or the network where the information has come from is commercial. Whereas a blogging information, you're not sure whether it's come from a commercial background or any particular relationship. It's very difficult. I mean, we've tried to do and make it very, very clear about obviously the podcast that we do. People are aware that we run the Outdoor Station and we also run Backpacking Light. But I've also tried to be honest and fair when we talk to people about products or places or things that they do which are not associated with Backpacking Light at all, that we still talk about them with the same interest and passion as we do with any particular items that we're associated with. But, if you haven't picked that up as you go along, then that's my mistake for not making that clearer, I suppose. But a difficult one, but a very, very interesting subject. So I recommend that you have a look at Andy Howell's blog, say andyhowell.info. Plenty of information on there discussing the topic, and also you can see some of the comments that have come back from different bloggers, some of whom agree with him and some don't. And obviously Tom's website, Two Heel Drive, or the website is tommangan.net. And if you go back to 2009 on his entry, there's quite an interesting entry there about their particular Gore-Tex trip, Bloggers Summit. What did he say? The second paragraph, he says, on the back of a napkin calculation, the round-trip airfare for 15 people, $7,500, 2 days food and lodging, $4,500. Gore-Tex would have to pay twice that for a single full-paged ad in Outside magazine. So that gives you a bit of an indication of sort of money that's potentially involved. And I suppose I'll finish up with this by saying that the bloggers that are doing this for people and getting a free tent, cooker, stove, pans, pots, clothing, whatever it might be, are you not providing the companies with actually more value than the goods that they're supplying you with? And that's not to say that you're not doing a good job in writing it up, but it's just something about the sums involved, particularly with the commercial climate at the moment. Everybody wants something for nothing. And if everybody comes out of the deal feeling happy, then that's great. But when you start looking at figures like I've just mentioned off Tom's blog there on Gore-Tex, it does start to make you think that these bigger companies perhaps starting to manipulate smaller individuals. I don't know. I'll leave that with you. Any comments, of course, please write to us at info@theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
If you have any feedback, questions or suggestions, why not drop us a line, either on Facebook or directly to our email address, info@theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
Bringing you more about the outdoors world.
So let's have a chat about some of the gossip and some of the things going on in the outdoors trade, and also discuss some items that we've seen that we think you might be interested in that will be coming through fairly soon. I notice we mentioned Julia Bradbury's sister's business, GoYomp. GoYomp.com a few weeks ago or a few podcasts ago, because it seemed to be slightly ambiguous what they were trying to do, and it obviously attracted a lot of interest in the press because they weren't really saying anything, but they were making all sorts of promises and so on. Anyway, it would appear that things have moved on. They've got the funding that they were seeking, and the website is still in its beta stage, but they're hoping to have a full marketing launch in spring of 2012. It is odd, I have to say, because everything they seem to be playing with or talking about has already been done probably quite successfully and quite well by various websites, blogs, and magazines already. For example, they say, through our unique social network, Yomp Share, you can discover new adventurers across the UK and upload and share your own favourite Yomps with the Yomp community, all at the click of a button. Okay, well, Outdoors Magic does that quite well, and so does Ordnance Survey and Live for the Outdoors, and a few other of the magazine-associated forums and blogs, so that's a bit of an odd one. GoYomp's founder, David Stevens, says, GoYomp aims to fill a hole in the market, providing a comprehensive set of tools which will direct you to some great walks and adventures. Hopefully you'll find our range of product reviews, blogs and articles helpful too. So there's obviously a commercial angle there that they're looking at. They are admitting that their shop is going to be a partnership relationship with Yeoman's Outdoor Leisure, who will be supplying you with all your outdoor essentials. That'll be interesting. And it doesn't like to shy away from the Julia Bradbury Association. Our commercial director, Gina Fox, Julia Bradbury's sister, says we intend to highlight innovative new products that demonstrate the outdoors can be fashionable and accessible. And it then goes on further to say, Julia Bradbury, our biggest supporter, believes that GoYomp will be the first port of call for anyone looking for an outdoor adventure. Well, there you go. It looks like the Julia Bradbury Outdoors brand is in full swing, and it'll be interesting to see if she's wearing the GoYomp t-shirt, GoYomp jacket, GoYomp hat and GoYomp socks the next time she does a TV presentation or is in one of the various magazines. So anyway, a little bit of gossip for you there. Do have a look at that. It's not an awful lot, but it is interesting. And it should be interesting to see where they're intending to make an impact or find a niche for themselves. So that's goyomp.com. What else have we picked up? Yes, I mean, just a bit of an aside, really. Was reading that in mainland Europe, most outdoor items, gear, rucksacks, jackets and tents and that sort of thing, are actually sold through sport shops. There are very, very few independent specialist outdoor retailers, and we understand that GoLite was making a fantastic impression in Germany, and certainly some of the Scandinavian countries, and starting to penetrate there quite nicely. And we, as Backpacking Light, get an awful lot of orders from mainland Europe when we'd assume that the products were available there. But obviously, it's a wrong assumption on our front. So the apparently the German designers are now aware of the word lightweight, and they're now starting to absorb that in a lot of their product designs. Deuter and Mammut and there's loads of German ones, isn't there, really? So we're going to look forward to 2012 being something where they are actually considering changing their design to take that on board. How light it will be, I don't know, but hopefully it will be lighter than a lot of the stuff that's currently available. But across the EU, revenue sales broken down in the outdoors industry are as follows. Clothing being the main one, followed by footwear, sleeping bags, rucksacks, and then tents. So let's move on to the outdoor show over at Stoneleigh. I only had time to chat to a few people there and find out about some of the new products and just sort of play with them for a few minutes and get a feel for them. We didn't really have time to get some interviews, which would have been nice to break this podcast up so you're not just listening to my voice, of course. But we just didn't have time. So we've done the next best thing and made a few notes. So some of the items that we saw, which will be interesting to people, is Ray Mears is endorsing a Ultrathon insect repellent, which is obviously important to a lot of people. I tend to get bitten very, very badly. I haven't tried it, haven't seen it, but that's some of the news that's coming through, so I'm sure you'll be seeing some of that in the marketing blurb over the next few months. The US manufacturer of interesting rucksacks, Granite Gear, has now found a UK distributor, so they are currently looking at organising their first drop of items, which may be in before Christmas or just after. Certainly leaning towards the GoLite end of the product range, as nice American packs will do, sort of the lighter aspect rather than the heavier ones. But they also have a wider range of items, I suppose, which will carry a slightly heavier load. So they've got one foot in each camp, and the quality of the products looks great. So hopefully we'll be seeing some of those shortly. We went to OMM and found out what the story is behind the Mountain Mover. The Mountain Mover is their 55-litre plus rucksack, which suddenly went out of production at the beginning of this year, and everybody has been desperate for it. It has a certain following. Anyway, they've been working with it and redesigning it slightly. And they've also got the OMM range now, has a few accessories that will fit all the packs in the range, which is quite interesting. But that Mountain Mover should be out just before Christmas, I understand. And of course, the new chest pouch, which is the other item that everybody's been waiting for, has been redesigned. And they've done the most important thing, which was the people who remember seeing the chest pouch. When it was the old model, when the old model was against your chest, you had the folded map against your chest, which was obviously had a plastic cover on it, so it was creating this membrane right against your chest and stopped the moisture released from your jacket. They've now turned it round and thankfully got the map on the right place, so that when you look down, you can just undo the poppers and look at the map. And it clips onto the various harnesses as before. So that's going to be a very, very popular item. In fact, the old chest pouch was incredibly popular. So ridiculously simple, but I think a lot of people will appreciate that. A few people have asked me about the new Neo Air, so we went and had a look at that. It's certainly now tapered. There's a lighter material on the super lightweight one, and it definitely, we're told, is as puncture resistant as the previous one, and they've also got a much more of a female based one. Where are we? Picking up the brochure here, the Neo Air X-Therm is one which would be ideal for winter, and that's got an R value of 5.7, and the X-Lite and the women's Neo Air X-Lite have got an R value of 3.2 or 3.9, depending which one you have. No weights here as such, and there's also obviously the Neo Air All Season and Trekker, which will be of interest to people, but we'll get more details about those later. But certainly the only thing I didn't like about the Neo Air X-Lite is bright yellow, which I suppose is good in some respects, but a lot of the bugs in this country do love bright yellow, so we'll see how that performs during summertime when they come out in a big way. The other thing that we saw from MSR, from the same supplier from First Ascent, is the new micro rocket. similar to the Pocket Rocket, whereas the Pocket Rocket's 85 grams, the Micro Rocket is 73 grams, and it folds down smaller. So that's going to be pretty popular, I think. I think it's a bit more expensive than the Pocket Rocket, but that's going to be a popular item.
You're listening to theoutdoorstation.co.uk. Award-winning producers of podcasts to inform, inspire and entertain lovers of the great outdoors everywhere.
What else do we pick up? Foulraven. Foulraven's another one. There seems to be a lot of Finnish and Norwegian brands making an impact into the UK market, and they seem to be going for the sort of bushcraft, paramo, come outdoor, sort of hard-wearing type marketplace. And they're nothing against the products. The products that's exactly where they position themselves. So I think we're going to see a bit more of them coming through, and certainly the field material and the cut was pretty impressive. So I think we'll be seeing a few more of those in your sort of average outdoor shop, if you like, your walking shop or bushcraft shop. Mountain King, who make I think they're the only UK company that make walking poles in the UK. They were telling us how successful their Trailblaze poles have been, something that we actually use and sell ourselves, which normally come in lengths of 110 centimetres and 120. They're now introducing 115 and 130 or 25? 130, I think it was, for the taller person. And a range of different colours there, and they were saying just how popular they've been with the adventure racing market and the sort of marathon de sable people and so on, people who just require stability but they don't want the big bulky walking pole. So fair play to a British company, hurrah, doing well with British made products, well done to them. Now another product that we saw many years ago in Friedrichshafen, everybody knows the name Hilleberg. But equivalent to Hilleberg is another tent manufacturer called Hellsport. And Hellsport and Hilleberg are along the same product quality threshold. They're from the same country, and I think they're fairly major competitors. Anyway, the Hellsport tents have now found a distributor in the UK, and we would look forward to seeing some of their designs on the high street or through the specialist shops anyway. But they make some superb tents, fantastic quality, and this, as I say, the same sort of pedigree as Hilleberg, although they hate being mentioned in the same sentence apparently. That's where that's pitched, so keep your eyes open for that. Actually, the same distributor is also distributing the Japanese titanium Snow Peak products as well. Snow Peak are an established titanium cookware company, again with that Japanese little quality design edge to them. So we may be seeing more of that. I've only ever seen Snow Peak in Cotswolds, and it sort of comes and goes, so I'm not too sure what they're like as a company to deal with, but I'm hoping that the distributor has great success with them. And then finally, one thing we did see, which was again British company. Yes, let's fly the flag here a bit. Was Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero, well known for their thermal underwear range of clothing that they do, but they're just bringing out a new lightweight down range, down jackets and gilet. And tried one on, very nice, got all the features you want to have, not particularly heavy, and most importantly retailing around the £120-130 mark, which I thought was quite good. Now, two of the companies that weren't at the show this year, which were quite interesting, was Inov-8 and Golite. There's been a few changes here. The Inov-8 change is, sadly, obviously, to establish themselves, they've got into all the small independent retailers, and there's a passion about Inov-8 products, and I'll hold my hands up and go, I love them, I think they're great. I use them, no problem at all. And as a retailer, we retail. We don't do an awful lot with them, but we do retail some of their products. Anyway, they've made a sweeping decision to terminate all contracts where people fall below a certain turnover. So consequently, a lot of small independent retailers who have been selling Inov-8, you may have your own favourite retailer near you, online or bricks and mortar, have now had their contracts terminated. And sadly, the agent that phoned us, that deals with the southwest area, said that he had to make a phone call after he spoke to us and terminate 12 other shops. So sadly, it looks like Inov-8 are concentrating on the bigger boys, and I understand that their American export activities are really taking off. So it not so much that we'll see less of them, but we'll just have to work harder to find them in the UK, which is a bit of a shame. The other one is GoLite. We've been associated with GoLite for 5-6 years, and every now and again they suddenly change tack. And this is the third time now that they've done that. They had established a European distribution network, and everything was all going very, very well in the UK and mainland Europe. There seems to be a bit of a change of this distribution decision, and we're sort of, all the retailers are just waiting at the moment to find out what the full story is. Is GoLite going to be as available as it was last year? And we're just confused, to be honest. It is interesting when you go on to the GoLite American site, they do seem to be having sort of ridiculous clearance sales, if you like, in different cities dotted around America as they travel around, which I'm sure must upset the local retailers in some way. So I'm not too sure what's going on. But of course, the background to this is GoLite is owned by Timberland, and Timberland has just been bought by VF Corporation. Let me just read a brief bit to you. Staff at Timberland's office in the UK, which includes Smartwall team based near Slough, will be amongst those waiting to see what impact the sale of the company will have. This follows the announcement last month that the VF Corporation, VFC, owners of, amongst others, the North Face, Vans and Jansport, is to buy the business. And as I say, Timberland owns GoLite. So it's a case of, well, watch this space, I think, at the moment. It's very confusing whether, what effect it's going to have, if any effect at all. But hopefully everybody will be made clear as soon as there's a definitive answer as regards what's happening. But it would be such a shame to work harder at getting the GoLite products, because they've made a great impact in the UK. I think they've been greatly appreciated by people in the sub 1 kilo category, to have something that's definitely lighter to carry. There's definitely a marketplace for it, but it's the supply chain. So I don't know whether it's Coop's decision or part of this corporation's takeover or what. So we are waiting to hear what we can about that, and I'm sure we will be happily broadcasting the good news as and when it arrives. So, that's about it from me. A lot of chit-chat, I'm afraid. I hope there's bits there of interest to you. And we will be putting together something else very soon. In fact, I'll tell you what it is now. I did an interview with Dave Linton. Dave Linton did the interviews with Chris Townsend a few podcasts ago, which a lot of people have really enjoyed. Nice chap, and he's taken 2 months out to walk 500 miles across the Halt route in the Pyrenees. So I took a couple of hours out the other day to have a chat with him about his trip, and I'm just editing that up now, and that will be our next podcast. Something to do with getting out there and enjoying life a little bit more. So let's get away from all this corporate rubbish and get back to keeping things simple, and just go for a walk. So enjoy yourself. Many thanks indeed, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.
This independent programme is produced and hosted by theoutdoorstation.co.uk.